King Charles Coronation, King Charles Coronation, King Charles III, King Charles III Coronation. From a young age, the world watched him closely, noting his every action, his every word, and even the way he carried himself. Growing up in the public eye was not easy, but Charles learned early on that his life would always be intertwined with responsibility, duty, and service. As a child, Charles showed curiosity and intelligence. He loved learning about history, nature, and people. He was also interested in architecture and design, and he had a passion for helping others. These interests were not just hobbies, they were glimpses of the man he would become. Even as a young boy, he understood that he had a role to play in the world, and that his choices would one day influence millions. The years passed, and Charles grew into a young man with a strong sense of duty. When he attended school, he worked hard, but he also faced challenges. Being the future king was not just about wearing a crown. It was about learning how to lead, how to communicate with people, and how to serve the country. He faced criticism, misunderstandings, and the pressures that come with being in the public eye. Yet he never gave up on learning and preparing for the responsibilities that awaited him. As he matured, Charles began to take on public roles. He started supporting charities, environmental causes, and community projects. He believed in making a difference in people's lives. From promoting education for young people to protecting the environment, Charles showed that he cared deeply about the world around him. He often spoke about the importance of harmony between people and nature, and his speeches inspired many. One of the most important aspects of Charles's life was his family. His parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, guided him with wisdom and patience. They encouraged him to think deeply about the role of a monarch and the impact he could have on society. Charles learned from their example that being a leader was not about power or wealth. It was about service, compassion, and dedication. But life was not without its challenges. Being in the spotlight meant that every decision Charles made was scrutinized. Some people admired him, while others criticized him. This taught him resilience. He learned how to stay calm under pressure and how to focus on what truly mattered. Through it all, he remained committed to his goal of serving the country when the time came. Charles's personal life also attracted public attention. His relationships, his interests, and even his daily routines were often discussed by the media. While this could have been overwhelming, he chose to focus on the positive: his work, his family, and his duty to the nation. Over time, he developed a deep understanding of the delicate balance between private life and public responsibility. During these years, Charles also traveled extensively. He visited different parts of the United Kingdom and countries around the world. These trips were not just ceremonial. They allowed him to meet people from all walks of life and understand their concerns and hopes. He listened carefully, learning how culture, history, and tradition shaped communities. These experiences shaped his vision of leadership, teaching him that a good ruler must understand the people they serve. Education played a crucial role in shaping Charles's mind. He attended prestigious schools and later went to university, where he studied history, archaeology, and anthropology. He also learned about governance, law, and international relations. This knowledge became the foundation for his future role as king. But beyond academics, Charles learned life lessons: how to communicate, how to inspire, and how to make decisions that consider the greater good. Despite the many public appearances and royal duties, Charles also had a personal side. He enjoyed nature, walking through gardens and learning about sustainable farming. He often expressed concern for the environment, long before it became a global conversation. He planted trees, promoted eco-friendly projects, and encouraged people to take care of the planet. This passion for the environment became one of his defining qualities, setting him apart as a modern monarch with a vision for the future. As the years went by, the nation watched Charles closely. People wondered how he would take on the role of king, how he would carry forward the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, and how he would shape the monarchy in a changing world. The anticipation grew, and Charles remained focused on preparing for the day he would be crowned. He knew that being king was more than a title, it was a lifelong commitment to the people and the country. The moment finally came when the world had to face the reality of change. Queen Elizabeth II, who had been a symbol of stability and dedication for decades, passed away. This event marked the end of an era and the beginning of another. Charles, who had spent his entire life preparing for this moment, now had the responsibility to step forward and lead. The weight of history rested on his shoulders, but he was ready. In the days leading up to his coronation, Charles reflected on his journey. He thought about his childhood, the lessons from his parents, the work he had done for charities, and the people he had met along the way. Every experience had shaped him, teaching him resilience, compassion, and leadership. He understood that being king was not about personal glory. It was about serving the nation and honoring the legacy of those who came before him. The country, too, was preparing for this historic event. Streets were decorated, ceremonies were planned, and people were eager to witness history. The coronation of a new king is not just a royal event. It is a moment that connects generations, celebrates tradition, and looks forward to the future. For Charles, it was the culmination of a lifetime of preparation and dedication. Even in private moments, Charles thought about the responsibilities ahead. He knew that leading a nation required wisdom, patience, and empathy. He also knew that the world had changed significantly, and the monarchy must adapt while staying true to its core values. His vision was clear: a monarchy that respected tradition, embraced progress, and served the people with integrity. In those quiet moments before the coronation, Charles's mind was filled with memories of the past and hopes for the future. He remembered the lessons his parents taught him, the encouragement from friends, and the admiration of citizens who believed in his vision. He also felt the weight of expectations from the nation, the Commonwealth, and the world. Yet he faced it all with calm determination, ready to step into his role as king. As the day of the coronation approached, Charles's life seemed to pause in a unique way. Every detail mattered: the ceremony, the traditions, the speeches, and the presence of world leaders. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations. Charles was aware that this was not just about a crown or a title. It was about stepping into history, honoring the past, and shaping the future. Throughout his life, King Charles III had prepared for this moment with dedication, intelligence, and heart. The journey from a curious child to a dedicated heir apparent had been filled with lessons, challenges, and achievements. And now, on the threshold of his coronation, he was ready to take on the responsibility of leading a nation, carrying forward a legacy, and beginning a new chapter in British history. This was a moment of reflection, anticipation, and hope, a moment when the life of Charles, shaped by decades of learning, service, and preparation, was about to meet its destiny. The coronation would mark not just the beginning of his reign, but the continuation of a story that had been centuries in the making, one that would inspire generations to come. As the news of Queen Elizabeth II's passing spread, the United Kingdom and the world were filled with a mixture of sorrow and anticipation. People everywhere remembered her decades of service, her calm presence during difficult times, and the stability she represented. At the same time, attention began to shift toward King Charles III. After a lifetime of preparation, he was about to step fully into the role that had defined his entire life. The nation, the Commonwealth, and global leaders were all watching, waiting to see how he would carry the monarchy into a new era. In towns and cities across the country, people spoke in hushed tones about the upcoming coronation. Some recalled Charles's early life, his childhood moments in Buckingham Palace, and his efforts to make a difference in areas like education and the environment. Others wondered what kind of king he would be, imagining how his personal values and experiences might shape the monarchy. Newspapers, television channels, and social media platforms buzzed with speculation, historical reflections, and tributes to the late queen. For many, this was not just a royal event. It was a moment that connected the past, present, and future of the nation. Preparations for the coronation were immense. Planning such a historic event required months, even years of work. Every detail mattered. From the design of the ceremonial robes to the timing of speeches and rituals, the organizers worked tirelessly to ensure that the event would honor tradition, while also reflecting King Charles III's vision for a modern monarchy. Royal advisors coordinated with government officials, clergy, and artists, making sure that the ceremony would resonate not only with the people in attendance, but also with millions watching around the world. King Charles III himself was deeply involved in these preparations. Though the planning was complex, he took time to understand every aspect of the ceremony. He met with religious leaders to discuss the spiritual elements, with designers to review the robes and regalia, and with event coordinators to ensure the program flowed smoothly. For Charles, this was more than a formal event. It was a chance to honor the monarchy's history, to show respect for the nation, and to make a statement about the values he would carry as king. Across the country, the public felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Communities decorated streets with flags and banners. Citizens gathered in public squares, some sharing memories of the Queen, others speculating about the king's future plans. Schools, businesses, and local organizations joined in, marking the event with ceremonies, artwork, and educational programs. It was a time of national reflection, as people considered the meaning of the monarchy in a changing world and the role that King Charles III would play in it. Media coverage was intense. Television channels aired special programs about Charles's life, the history of coronations, and the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II. Newspapers featured long articles, photographs, and timelines of events leading to the coronation. Social media was alive with discussions, videos, and messages of support. Some commentators focused on Charles's personal journey, highlighting his lifelong commitment to service and public life. Others explored the traditions of the monarchy, explaining the significance of rituals that had been followed for centuries. Everywhere, the anticipation was palpable as the nation prepared to witness history. During this period, King Charles III also thought deeply about his responsibilities. He reflected on the lessons he had learned from his mother, who had served with grace, patience, and dedication for more than 70 years. He remembered her advice about listening to the people, staying humble, and always prioritizing the needs of the nation. These memories guided him as he considered how he would approach his new role, understanding that the coronation was not only a symbolic ceremony, but also a profound commitment to the people he would now serve fully. One of the key challenges of this time was balancing tradition with modern expectations. The monarchy had evolved over centuries, and Charles understood that it needed to continue evolving. He wanted to honor the ceremonial aspects that had shaped British history, while also reflecting contemporary values like inclusivity, environmental responsibility, and public engagement. This vision required careful planning, communication, and collaboration, as every decision could influence public perception and the future of the monarchy. International attention was also intense. Leaders from across the globe prepared to witness the coronation, understanding its symbolic importance and the influence of the British monarchy. Ambassadors, diplomats, and heads of state were invited to attend, making the event both a national and global occasion. For King Charles III, this was a reminder of the monarchy's role beyond the United Kingdom, as a symbol of continuity, diplomacy, and cultural connection with countries around the world. Public discussions often highlighted Charles's unique qualities. People admired his long-standing commitment to charitable causes and his dedication to environmental issues. He had championed sustainable living, supported community initiatives, and promoted education for young people, often taking a hands-on approach rather than limiting himself to ceremonial appearances. Many felt that these qualities would shape his reign positively, helping the monarchy remain relevant and inspiring in a rapidly changing world. At the same time, there were voices of caution. Some wondered whether Charles could balance tradition with modern expectations, while others debated how the monarchy should adapt to contemporary society. These discussions, though sometimes critical, reflected the deep engagement of the public. For Charles, they were reminders of the responsibility he carried and the need to remain thoughtful, respectful, and transparent in his leadership. Amid all this, ordinary citizens also played a vital role in the atmosphere leading up to the coronation. Families, neighbors, and communities shared stories about previous coronations, about moments when the royal family had supported the nation, and about personal memories tied to the monarchy. Children learned about history, traditions, and service through school activities and community programs. The coronation became more than an event for the elite or for television viewers. It became a shared experience, connecting people across generations, backgrounds, and regions. King Charles III himself felt the weight of expectation every day. Even in quiet moments, he considered the lessons of history, the advice of mentors, and the hopes of the people. He knew that the coronation would not mark the end of preparation, but the beginning of a new chapter filled with challenges and opportunities. He reflected on the importance of empathy, listening, and service, understanding that these qualities would define his reign more than ceremonies, titles, or symbols. In the weeks leading up to the coronation, the sense of anticipation grew even stronger. Streets were lined with decorations, media coverage intensified, and communities across the country prepared celebrations. Shops sold memorabilia, schools held special events, and public spaces became gathering points for discussions and reflections. The nation was collectively marking a moment of transition, honoring the past while looking forward to the future. Even as preparations were underway, Charles continued his personal engagement with public life. He met with local leaders, visited charitable organizations, and supported initiatives that reflected his long-standing commitments. These activities were reminders that, beyond the ceremonial aspects of monarchy, service to the people remained central to his purpose. Every meeting, every visit, and every conversation was an opportunity to understand the nation better, connect with citizens, and learn how he could serve most effectively. Through all this, King Charles III remained calm and focused. He knew that history was watching, but he also understood the importance of staying grounded. He drew strength from his experiences, his education, and the lessons he had learned throughout his life. He remembered that leadership required patience, empathy, and the ability to adapt while remaining true to core values. These principles would guide him not just during the coronation, but throughout his reign. As the day approached, it became clear that this moment was about more than pomp and ceremony. It was a reflection of a nation's values, a celebration of continuity, and a recognition of service, duty, and responsibility. For King Charles III, it was the culmination of a lifetime of preparation, a chance to honor his mother, serve his people, and shape the monarchy for generations to come. People around the world waited in anticipation. They understood that the coronation was not just a national event, but a historical moment that connected the past, present, and future. They were ready to witness history, to celebrate tradition, and to see how a new king would begin his journey. Charles himself felt a deep sense of responsibility. knowing that the expectations were high, but also confident that his life of preparation had equipped him to meet the challenge. Through reflection, dedication, and careful planning, the United Kingdom prepared to welcome King Charles III officially as its monarch. This was a time of hope, reflection, and engagement, a moment that united the country and the world in observing a transition that had been centuries in the making. For Charles, it was a reminder that leadership was not just about titles or ceremonies, but about service, responsibility, and the opportunity to make a positive difference in the lives of people everywhere. The anticipation, planning, and public engagement in these weeks set the stage for a coronation that would be remembered for generations. King Charles III's careful approach, his respect for tradition, and his commitment to the future were evident in every decision. The nation waited, aware that the coronation was not only a celebration of a new king, but also a moment to reflect on the values of service, dedication, and leadership that had guided the British monarchy for centuries. The day of the coronation finally arrived, a moment that had been decades in the making for King Charles III. From early morning, London was alive with excitement and anticipation. Streets near Westminster Abbey were lined with people waving flags, smiling, and sharing stories about past royal events. The city shimmered with decorations, and the air was filled with both celebration and a quiet sense of history unfolding. Every detail, from the flowers to the banners, had been carefully planned to honor the occasion and make it unforgettable for everyone present. Inside the abbey, preparations were in full swing. Clergy, officials, and royal attendants moved carefully, rehearsing their roles one last time. The building itself, steeped in centuries of history, seemed to hum with significance. Westminster Abbey had witnessed countless coronations over the centuries, and now it was ready to host this historic event. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the stone floors, adding a sense of serenity and grandeur to the sacred space. King Charles III began his day with quiet reflection. Dressed in ceremonial attire, he considered the responsibilities he was about to accept. He thought about his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, and the years of service she had given to the nation. He thought about the people who had supported him throughout his life, and about those who were watching from every corner of the world. In that moment, Charles felt both the weight of history and the excitement of stepping into a role he had prepared for his entire life. As the ceremony began, Charles made his way to the abbey with dignity and composure. The streets were filled with cheering crowds, many of whom had been waiting for hours, even days, to witness history in person. From windows and balconies, people waved flags, and cameras captured the smiles, tears, and excitement on the faces of the citizens. The atmosphere was electric, yet respectful, as everyone recognized the significance of the day. The ceremony itself was a carefully balanced blend of tradition and contemporary elements. Centuries-old rituals were observed, each with its own meaning and symbolism. Clergy offered prayers and blessings, reminding everyone of the spiritual dimension of monarchy. Music filled the abbey, with choirs singing compositions that had been performed at coronations for generations. The sounds echoed through the vast halls, creating an atmosphere of solemnity, awe, and reverence. When King Charles III was finally seated in front of the altar, he was calm, composed, and aware of the history surrounding him. The crown, a symbol of authority and responsibility, awaited him. As the moment approached, the archbishop spoke words that had been spoken for hundreds of years, blessing the new monarch and outlining his duty to the nation and the Commonwealth. Every word resonated deeply, reminding Charles of the trust placed in him and the service expected of a king. The crowning itself was a powerful and emotional moment. As the crown was gently placed upon his head, the abbey seemed to hold its collective breath. Charles felt the weight of centuries of history and tradition resting upon him, yet he also felt a sense of purpose, clarity, and resolve. In that instant, he was not just the heir or the son of a monarch, he was the king, ready to lead his country with dedication and care. The audience responded with quiet applause and heartfelt emotion, aware that they were witnessing a pivotal moment in history. Throughout the ceremony, King Charles III demonstrated humility and grace. He took the solemn oath to serve the nation, to uphold the values of justice and compassion, and to protect the rights of all citizens. These words were not merely ceremonial, they were a reflection of the principles that had guided him throughout his life. His voice, steady and confident, carried a message of responsibility, integrity, and hope for the future. Guests from around the world watched with admiration. Royal families, political leaders, and dignitaries attended the event, understanding the significance of the coronation. Each guest represented the global importance of the monarchy, the cultural connections between nations, and the shared respect for history and tradition. For King Charles III, their presence was a reminder that his reign would not only impact the United Kingdom, but also influence relationships with countries across the globe. Outside Westminster Abbey, the public also participated in the moment. People gathered in parks, town squares, and streets, watching live broadcasts and celebrating the new king. Families brought children to teach them about history, tradition, and the meaning of service. Friends shared stories about past monarchs, and communities came together to mark the occasion with joy and pride. The coronation became a shared experience, connecting people of all ages and backgrounds through a sense of collective history and hope. One of the most memorable parts of the ceremony was the acknowledgement of Queen Elizabeth II's legacy. King Charles III paid tribute to his mother's decades of service, highlighting the lessons she had taught him about leadership, dedication, and compassion. This gesture reminded everyone present of the continuity of monarchy, the way each generation builds upon the work of those before, while adding its own values and vision. It was a moment of both remembrance and forward-looking optimism, bridging past and future seamlessly. The music, the speeches, and the rituals were interwoven with personal touches that reflected King Charles III's character. He had long been known for his passion for environmental causes, charitable work, and community engagement. The ceremony subtly reflected these values, emphasizing service, responsibility, and respect for both people and the planet. Observers noticed the careful balance of tradition and modernity, recognizing that this coronation was not only about history, but also about a vision for the future. Throughout the event, King Charles III remained focused and composed. He understood the importance of every action, every gesture, and every word. He moved with confidence but without arrogance, showing humility and grace. The audience, both in the Abbey and around the world, responded to his sincerity and commitment. In every moment, he demonstrated that the role of king was not just a title, but a responsibility, a promise to serve, to protect, and to lead with wisdom. The coronation also featured elements that celebrated the unity of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. Representatives from different regions, cultures, and communities were present, reflecting the diverse nature of the modern monarchy. Their participation highlighted the importance of inclusion, respect, and connection. King Charles III, through his actions and words, emphasized that his reign would be one of service to all people, valuing their contributions, traditions, and aspirations. As the ceremony drew to a close, King Charles III gave a speech that resonated with hope, compassion, and determination. He spoke about the importance of unity, the value of service, and the role of the monarchy in supporting the nation's people. His words were heartfelt, grounded in experience, and reflective of his lifelong commitment to the responsibilities he had prepared for. For many listening, it was a moment that inspired confidence, admiration, and a sense of shared purpose. The coronation was not only a personal milestone for King Charles III, but also a historical event for the nation and the world. It symbolized continuity, the passage of tradition, and the promise of leadership rooted in service and integrity. Every aspect, from the careful planning to the execution of centuries-old rituals, demonstrated the monarchy's enduring relevance and the king's readiness to embrace his role with dedication. Outside the abbey, the celebrations continued long into the day. People sang, waved flags, and shared moments of joy and reflection. Television and radio broadcasts brought the ceremony into homes across the United Kingdom and the world, allowing millions to participate in the historic moment. Social media platforms were filled with images, videos, and messages celebrating the new king, creating a sense of global participation and connection. King Charles III, after the ceremony, took time to acknowledge the people who had supported him throughout his life. He expressed gratitude to his family, his mentors, and the citizens of the United Kingdom. These moments, though personal, were also symbolic, showing that a monarchy is not defined by wealth or power, but by service, dedication, and a commitment to the people it represents. As the day concluded, it was clear that the coronation had achieved more than ceremonial significance. It had united people across the country, celebrated history, and inspired hope for the future. King Charles III had stepped into his role with grace, humility, and confidence, signaling the beginning of a new chapter for the monarchy and the nation. The memory of the event would remain in the hearts of citizens and observers, a reminder of the power of service, tradition, and leadership guided by values. In the quiet moments after the public celebrations, King Charles III reflected on the journey that had led him to this day. From childhood lessons to years of preparation, from public service to personal growth, every experience had shaped him into the monarch he was now. The coronation was not only a ceremony, it was the start of a journey, a commitment to lead with integrity, and a promise to honor the legacy of those who had come before while guiding the nation toward a future filled with hope and opportunity. The day of the coronation would be remembered for generations, not just for its grandeur but for its meaning. It was a celebration of service, responsibility, and dedication. King Charles III had embraced his role with sincerity, understanding that leadership is not about power, but about caring for people, respecting tradition, and inspiring positive change. This day marked the beginning of a reign that would honor the past, engage the present, and shape the future. The day after the coronation, the world seemed to take a collective breath. People everywhere reflected on the historic event they had witnessed. Newspapers, television programs, and social media were filled with images of King Charles III, the ceremony, and the celebrations that had taken place in London. Citizens across the United Kingdom shared their thoughts, feelings, and reactions, creating a tapestry of emotions that reflected the importance of this moment in history. In towns and cities, discussions about the coronation were everywhere. Families gathered around television sets, children asked questions about the ceremony, and neighbors shared their memories of past royal events. For many, it was a moment of pride and hope, a chance to connect with the history of their country and the monarchy that had shaped it for centuries. Teachers used the event as an opportunity to educate students about traditions, history, and civic responsibility. The coronation had become more than a formal occasion. It was a living lesson for a nation. Reactions were diverse. Some citizens expressed admiration for King Charles III, praising the dignity, humility, and grace he had displayed. They noted the care he had taken to honor tradition, while also bringing his own values to the ceremony. Many felt inspired by his lifelong dedication to public service, environmental causes, and charitable work. For these people, the coronation was not just about a crown. It was about the promise of a monarchy that could be both modern and respectful of history. Others were more cautious in their reactions. Some questioned whether the monarchy remained relevant in the 21st century, and what challenges King Charles III might face as he assumed the throne. These discussions were not meant to diminish the importance of the day, but rather to reflect the public's engagement and interest in how the monarchy would evolve under new leadership. In towns, cafes, and workplaces, people debated the role of tradition, the responsibilities of leadership, and the expectations of citizens in a modern democracy. International observers also paid close attention. Leaders from around the world sent messages of congratulations, acknowledging the significance of the coronation and the responsibilities King Charles III had assumed. Media outlets in other countries broadcast the event live, offering commentary and analysis about its global importance. They highlighted the historical context, the continuity of British traditions, and the ways in which King Charles III had approached his new role with humility and preparation. For many, it was a chance to witness a rare blend of history, ceremony, and leadership on a global stage. Social media played a particularly important role in the days following the coronation. Millions of people shared photos, videos, and reflections about the event. Some posted images of themselves celebrating in the streets, while others shared messages about the significance of service, duty, and tradition. Hashtags related to the coronation trended worldwide, making it clear that this was a moment that had captured the attention of people from every continent. The online response mirrored the enthusiasm, curiosity, and pride felt in cities and villages across the United Kingdom. Communities organized celebrations to mark the coronation, even after the official ceremony had ended. Street parties, concerts, and public gatherings allowed citizens to come together and share the experience. Local schools held events to teach children about the monarchy, history, and the values of service and responsibility. For many, these celebrations were an opportunity to reflect on the meaning of leadership and the ways in which a monarch can inspire a nation. The coronation had become not only a historic event, but also a communal experience, uniting people across generations and regions. King Charles III's speeches and gestures during the ceremony were widely discussed and praised. People appreciated the thoughtfulness with which he addressed the nation, the clarity of his commitments, and the sincerity of his words. His emphasis on service, unity, and responsibility resonated deeply with many citizens. For those who had followed his public life for decades, the coronation confirmed what they had long admired: a leader who approached his role with humility, dedication, and a genuine concern for the well-being of his people. At the same time, some critics raised questions about the monarchy's future. They asked how King Charles III would address the challenges of modern society, including social change, environmental issues, and public expectations. These discussions, however, often led to thoughtful reflection rather than conflict. Citizens debated the balance between tradition and innovation, exploring ways in which the monarchy could continue to serve as a symbol of unity and stability, while remaining relevant in contemporary times. The media continued to highlight stories of ordinary people who had participated in the coronation celebrations. From a grandmother waving her flag in a quiet village to children dressed in ceremonial costumes, these personal stories added depth and humanity to the larger historical event. They reminded everyone that the monarchy was not just about ceremonies and traditions. It was about people, communities, and the connections that bind a nation together. Schools, libraries, and cultural institutions also played a role in helping the public engage with the coronation. Special exhibitions showcased royal artifacts, historical documents, and images from past coronations. Teachers held discussions about the responsibilities of leadership, the history of the British monarchy, and the values that had guided previous kings and queens. These educational initiatives allowed citizens, especially young people, to develop a deeper understanding of the significance of the event and the role King Charles III would now play. Across the United Kingdom, people reflected on the continuity of history. The coronation of King Charles III was not just a one-day event. It was the culmination of decades of preparation, tradition, and service. Citizens considered the lessons of the past, the achievements of Queen Elizabeth II, and the ways in which Charles's reign might shape the future. Conversations in homes, cafes, and workplaces often centered on the values of leadership, duty, and public service, creating a sense of shared reflection and purpose. Internationally, reactions were similarly varied and thoughtful. Some commentators highlighted the ceremonial aspects of the coronation, emphasizing the importance of tradition and historical continuity. Others focused on the symbolic message of a monarch who had spent decades preparing for leadership, noting how Charles's personal qualities might influence the monarchy's relevance and role in the modern world. In each case, the coronation sparked meaningful discussion, reflection, and appreciation for the significance of leadership rooted in service. In the weeks following the coronation, King Charles III began engaging with citizens more directly. He met with community leaders, charitable organizations, and representatives from across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. These interactions demonstrated his commitment to service and his desire to understand the hopes and concerns of the people he now led. Through these meetings, he reinforced the message that the monarchy was not an isolated institution, but a part of the social and cultural fabric of the nation. The public also paid attention to the symbolic aspects of the coronation. From the robes to the crown, from the music to the speeches, every detail carried meaning. Citizens reflected on the centuries of tradition that had shaped the monarchy, while also considering the ways in which King Charles III had added his personal touch. This balance of tradition and modernity resonated deeply with many people, reinforcing the sense that the monarchy could honor its past while embracing the future. Throughout this period, people continued to share stories about their experiences during the coronation. Some spoke of tears of joy and pride, others described the excitement of seeing the king in person, and many reflected on the historical significance of the day. These stories added richness and depth to the public's understanding of the event, demonstrating that the coronation had created a lasting impression on the hearts and minds of citizens. King Charles III's early actions after the coronation were widely covered and praised. He emphasized the importance of public service, environmental responsibility, and unity. These early steps signaled that his reign would focus on values that mattered to people, including care for communities, respect for tradition, and forward-looking leadership. Observers noted that this approach reinforced the message of the coronation, that the monarchy could serve as both a symbol of history and an active participant in shaping the future. The coronation also sparked reflection on the broader role of leadership in society. People considered the qualities that make a good leader: humility, dedication, empathy, and the ability to inspire others. King Charles III's example encouraged citizens to think about their own roles in communities, fostering a sense of responsibility and connection. In this way, the coronation became more than a royal event. It became a catalyst for reflection, discussion, and engagement at every level of society. As the weeks passed, the significance of the coronation continued to unfold. Citizens celebrated, reflected, and engaged with the history, tradition, and values represented by the monarchy. The event had united people, inspired discussion, and highlighted the importance of service, duty, and leadership. For King Charles III, it was a reminder that his reign was not just about titles or ceremonies. It was about connecting with people, serving the nation, and shaping a future that honored the past while embracing change. By the time the nation had fully absorbed the coronation, it was clear that this moment would be remembered for generations. The public reaction, full of admiration, reflection, and thoughtful discussion, demonstrated that the monarchy still had a profound place in the hearts and minds of people. King Charles III had assumed his role with dignity and purpose, and the citizens responded with engagement, curiosity, and respect. The coronation had succeeded not only as a ceremony, but as a meaningful event that strengthened the connection between a monarch and the people he served. With the coronation behind him, King Charles III began the next chapter of his life with a sense of purpose and responsibility. The crown was no longer a symbol waiting to be claimed. It now rested firmly on his head, representing both the history of the British monarchy and the expectations of millions of people around the world. For Charles, this was the beginning of a reign in which every action, decision, and public appearance would carry meaning. He understood that being king was not about titles or ceremonies alone. It was about service, leadership, and the ability to inspire confidence, hope, and unity among the citizens he now served. The first weeks of King Charles III's reign were marked by reflection and planning. He carefully considered how to honor the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II while establishing his own approach to leadership. The lessons from his mother's decades of service were invaluable, providing a model of dedication, humility, and empathy. Charles also thought about the unique challenges of modern life, recognizing that society had changed dramatically over the years. The world he now led was complex, interconnected, and constantly evolving, and he knew that the monarchy had to reflect these realities while maintaining the traditions that gave it meaning and stability. One of Charles's early priorities was to connect with people across the United Kingdom. He embarked on visits to towns, villages, and cities, meeting citizens from all walks of life. These visits were not ceremonial alone. They were opportunities to listen, understand, and engage directly with the concerns and aspirations of the public. From small community centers to large charitable organizations, Charles demonstrated that he valued the voices of ordinary people. He asked questions, listened carefully, and offered encouragement, showing that leadership is not only about giving directions, but also about understanding the people one serves. Charles also emphasized the importance of unity. He recognized that the United Kingdom was made up of diverse regions, cultures, and communities, each with its own history and identity. Through speeches, public appearances, and engagements, he highlighted the value of inclusion, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. His message was clear. The monarchy exists to serve all citizens, to celebrate diversity, and to support cohesion in a society that is always growing and changing. These principles became guiding values for his reign, helping to set the tone for how he would interact with the nation. International diplomacy became another focus for King Charles III. Leaders from around the world extended congratulations and expressed interest in maintaining strong relationships with the United Kingdom under his leadership. Charles had long understood the importance of diplomacy, both from his own travels as heir apparent and from observing his mother's long tenure as monarch. He approached these responsibilities with thoughtfulness and care, emphasizing collaboration, respect, and understanding. His actions demonstrated that the monarchy was not only a national institution, but also a symbol of cultural connection and international goodwill. The environment, a cause close to King Charles III's heart, also became a central theme of his early reign. He had spent decades advocating for sustainable living, conservation, and environmental awareness, and now he had the platform to amplify these efforts. Initiatives were launched to promote renewable energy, protect natural habitats, and encourage communities to adopt eco-friendly practices. Charles believed that leadership was not only about addressing immediate concerns, but also about preparing for the long-term well-being of future generations. By integrating environmental priorities into his role, he demonstrated a modern approach to monarchy that combined tradition with forward-thinking action. Charitable work remained a cornerstone of King Charles III's activities. Over the years, he had supported countless organizations, focusing on education, health, and social welfare. Now, as king, he continued to champion these causes, lending his voice, influence, and presence to inspire participation and action. He visited hospitals, schools, and community centers, engaging with people directly and highlighting the importance of service and compassion. These efforts reinforce the idea that leadership is not only about ceremonial duties, but about making a tangible difference in the lives of citizens. The monarchy's public image was also carefully considered. King Charles III worked to maintain a balance between accessibility and dignity, modernity and tradition. He understood that the perception of the monarchy mattered deeply, not only for domestic audiences, but also for global observers. Through interviews, public speeches, and thoughtful engagement, Charles conveyed transparency, sincerity, and commitment. His approach helped build trust and confidence, showing that a modern monarch can remain connected to the people while upholding the gravitas of the institution. Education and mentorship also played a role in Charles's early reign. He encouraged young people to learn about history, civic responsibility, and public service. Schools hosted discussions and projects about the monarchy, highlighting its historical significance and the ways in which it could serve society. Charles believed that an informed and engaged population is essential for a thriving nation, and he used his position to inspire curiosity, responsibility, and participation among young citizens. These efforts ensured that the monarchy would continue to resonate with future generations. Technology and media were also harnessed to reach wider audiences. Social media, broadcasts, and online platforms allowed people across the country and around the world to observe the king's activities, learn about his initiatives, and participate in discussions. Charles embraced these tools thoughtfully, understanding that modern leadership requires communication that is both accessible and meaningful. By using media effectively, he strengthened the connection between the monarchy and the public, creating a sense of shared engagement and inclusion. King Charles III also took time to strengthen his relationship with the royal family and close advisors. Collaboration, trust, and shared purpose were key elements of effective leadership. Through regular meetings, discussions, and planning sessions, he ensured that every aspect of his reign was guided by thoughtful strategy and a commitment to service. The support of the family and advisors allowed him to focus on public duties while maintaining the values and traditions of the monarchy. The public, meanwhile, continued to observe and respond to the king's actions. Many expressed admiration for his dedication, humility, and modern approach to leadership. His efforts to address environmental issues, promote unity, and engage with citizens directly were widely appreciated. Social media and traditional media alike shared stories of his visits, speeches, and initiatives, creating a positive narrative about a monarchy that could evolve while remaining rooted in history. Citizens felt a renewed sense of pride and connection to their nation, inspired by the example set by their king. Economic and cultural events also became opportunities for King Charles III to demonstrate leadership. He attended ceremonies that celebrated innovation, the arts, and community achievements. By participating in these events, he highlighted the importance of culture, creativity, and local engagement. His presence served to reinforce the idea that a monarch's role extends beyond ceremonial duties to include the support and promotion of national life in all its dimensions. As months passed, King Charles III continued to define his legacy. Every visit, speech, and initiative contributed to the shaping of a reign that valued service, tradition, and progress. He understood that leadership is a continuous journey, requiring dedication, empathy, and vision. By remaining true to his principles, he set a tone for the monarchy that balanced respect for history with an embrace of modern values, showing that a monarch can both honor the past and inspire the future. One of the most enduring aspects of his early reign was the emphasis on community. Charles visited rural villages and large cities alike, ensuring that all citizens felt seen and valued. He listened to stories, learned about local challenges, and celebrated achievements. These engagements fostered a sense of connection and mutual respect, reinforcing the idea that leadership is about service, understanding, and building trust. By prioritizing these values, Charles demonstrated that monarchy is not just symbolic, but actively relevant to the lives of people. Throughout his early reign, King Charles III also reflected on the personal responsibility that came with leadership. He understood that every action, word, and decision had significance, both for the nation and for the monarchy itself. With humility and care, he approached each day with thoughtfulness, considering the long-term impact of his choices. His reflection, combined with decades of preparation, allowed him to navigate the complexities of leadership with confidence and integrity. By the end of his first year as king, Charles had already set a clear path for his legacy. His reign emphasized service, community engagement, environmental responsibility, and cultural appreciation. He showed that monarchy can evolve while remaining rooted in tradition, offering a model of leadership that balances respect for history with the needs and expectations of modern society. Citizens recognized his dedication, and many were inspired by the example he set for leadership grounded in empathy, duty, and vision. As King Charles III looked forward to the future, he remained mindful of the lessons of the past. The coronation had marked the beginning of his reign, but it was only the first step in a lifelong commitment to serve the nation. Each decision, initiative, and public engagement was a building block for a legacy that would be remembered for generations. His focus was clear: to honor the past, serve the present, and inspire the future, showing that monarchy can be both timeless and relevant in a changing world. In the quiet moments, Charles reflected on the journey that had led him to this point. From childhood to public service, from learning from his mother to preparing for his role as king, every experience had shaped him into a leader capable of balancing duty, empathy, and vision. The coronation was no longer just a historic event. It was the foundation for a reign defined by service, responsibility, and dedication to the people. King Charles III's legacy had begun, not as a distant figurehead, but as an engaged, compassionate, and thoughtful leader. Through his actions, speeches, and initiatives, he demonstrated that monarchy is not just about ceremony or tradition, but about meaningful connection, public service, and the pursuit of a better future for all. His early reign set a tone of hope, unity, and inspiration, reminding citizens that leadership is most powerful when it is grounded in empathy, respect, and commitment.